When I studied economics, it was the government's job to manage the economy to achieve low inflation and low unemployment using budgetary measures. Achieving a budget surplus in any given year was never considered to be the sole measure of economic success. It still isn't, but you would not think so given the alarmist rhetoric of some political leaders and commentators. It is the secular party's policy to have balanced budgets over the business cycle. Government deficits are at present relatively low, and so is the level of government debt. There is no need for complacency, but neither should there be any alarm at our economic situation. There are certainly a lot of savings that could be made, but before outlining them, let us be clear about our current economic circumstances. Current budget problems have little to do with excessive expenditure and a lot to do with falling government revenues, largely associated with the mining boom. During the Howard years, commodity prices were rising, and so was mining profits. Hence, company tax revenue was high and the budget was in surplus. Then, because the boom in prices, mining companies invested massively to increase production. This investment is tax deductible, so tax revenue fell in the later years, although prices remained high. Now the investment boom is over, but production is higher. Prices have fallen, and so profits are still low, and so is tax revenue. Hence, the mining tax has raised little revenue. Given that, it could hardly have had a role in ending the mining boom, as has been falsely claimed. The difference between the budget deficit records of Liberal and Labor over the last decade has mainly been due to economic luck rather than good or bad economic management. On the revenue side, we certainly do see need to tax for a tax on carbon and also a tax on non-renewable resource extraction based on excessive profits due to high commodity prices. On expenditure, there is certainly a need to restructure spending because in future, population ageing is going to put a lot more pressure on the budget. But there is plenty of scope for savings due to the many middle-class welfare measures introduced or expanded by the previous Howard government and continued by Labor. Mr. Howard's idea of a fair go was that if the poor get economic government welfare, the rich should get it too. Labor did practically nothing about this. These measures are not just wasteful but counterproductive and mean that basically the ethos of a fair go in Australia has been abolished. Let me give you a few examples. The first, of course, is the massive subsidies provided to private religious schools and the numerous tax exemptions and subsidies provided to religious organisations. These practices arise from the anachronistic legal definition of charity, which holds that advancing religion is charitable even when it is not charitable. This costs Australian taxpayers about $30 billion a year. Another example of middle-class welfare is the superannuation tax concessions, which now cost also about $30 billion a year, most of which goes to rich retirees. This will be completely unsustainable in future. Negative gearing of private investment properties also costs $10 billion a year and just drives up the cost of housing and taxes for other taxpayers who can't benefit from it. private health insurance rebates cost $3 billion a year and do not take a load off the public system. They drive up costs and drain resources from the public health system. None of these middle-class welfare measures are available in any other country. They are based on reaction to powerful interests and pressure groups.
Imagine no religion in government. Vote 1, secular. Written and spoken by John Perkins. Authorised by Moira Clark, 6 Belmont Place, Banksia Park, 5091, on behalf of the Secular Party of Australia.